Do you find it hard to sleep tonight? Resting by the Christmas lights. Could there be something you forgot? Beyond the bows and mistletoe, the tree with presents wrapped below, there's more to this than you had ever thought. Have we lost the reason that we celebrate each year? What is Christmas? If there never was a Savior wrapped in a manger, what is Christmas without Christ? Remember how the story goes. God's gift was wrapped in swaddling clothes beneath the star one great and holy night. The shepherds heard the angels sing, the wise men brought an offering. Peace on earth began in Bethlehem. Have we lost the reason that we celebrate each year? What is Christmas? If there never was a Savior wrapped in a manger, what is Christmas? If the angels never sang glory to the newborn King, what is Christmas without Christ? There'd be no Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. What is Christmas? If there never was a Savior wrapped in a manger, what is Christmas without Christ? This is Christmas. It's all about a Savior wrapped in a manger. This is Christmas because of Jesus Christ.
Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Justin. Good to see that you're all here. My name is Justin. I'm the pastor here. Welcome to the Benton Church. We hope that this is just one of the greatest times of your week. Benton is kind of a relaxed place. Just come as you are. Come on in. There's a window over there where there's some snacks and some beverages, usually each and every week. In a moment, we're going to have you greet one another. And if you want to eat and greet, go right ahead. Go grab something to eat and let's say hello to some people. We have a nursery that's available if you have some kids age 3 and under and you want to use it. You just head out these doors and head down the hall and on the left-hand side. You do not have to. You can keep your kids in here. We're okay with that as well. Later on, there's going to be a time of a children's church that'll happen. And today it'll actually happen right after the beginning of my message. You'll figure that out here in just a little bit. We encourage each of you to grab one of these bulletins. On it, you'll see just some helpful information and some things coming up and throughout the week. What you'll see this week is a couple of key things. First of all, there's a thank you in here. We had the caroling and soup supper this last week. It was a great time. We had 26 places that we ended up giving out baskets to and singing at, which is fantastic. And just so thank you very much to those who helped bring the meal and put the baskets together. That was very, very kind of you. Also, on the Christmas tree back there, there's still a few paper ornaments that are connected to either the Noah's Ark preschool that we have, as well as the Awana, and you just grab one of those and purchase the gift or whatever, put it in a bag and just set it under the tree, and we will make sure to take care of that if that's something that you would want to do. And then finally, you'll notice in black and blue, very clearly, we want to make you aware of the next couple of weeks are combined church services. So circle this, slap it on somebody's forehead at home, something, whatever it's going to take to help you remember. Next Sunday, the 22nd, and Sunday, the 29th, we will have one service each of those Sundays at 10 o'clock. So next Sunday, 10 o'clock are the worship services. And then, of course, Christmas Eve service, the 24th, will be 6 p.m., and it's a candlelight service. So we hope you all will be coming for that as well. My final announcement is there's going to be a couple of times where we're doing some kid stuff up front. There's going to be streamers that are going on and some singing that's going on. What we ask of all the rest of us is that we would be seated during those times. There'll be some people that are in the back trying to help guide the kids from back there, and it's hard for them to see if there's other people standing up. It can easily be a distraction for the kids. So at least during those times, just grab a seat somewhere, and we would appreciate it. And if you want, you could stand the rest of the time. I don't care. While I'm talking, stand away, wander around, whatever. But during the kid time, if you could just remain seated. Does that make sense? Well, it's not kid time, so I invite you to stand up and greet one another and let people know that you're glad they're here.
I'm pretty warm.
Turn the heater down over there. It was melting. It was 70.
It was starting to beat up.
I think I'll walk in. He doesn't the warmest temps I've ever been in my life. I've never been in.
They keep it really cold in the summertime and really warm in the
Usually
It should be the opposite.
usually you go into a church. I remember the basement of an old church, and they never get to I don't know.
Just enough to keep the pipes from freezing.
But they did have done roughly like we knew it was and they're not just like
They were using
you don't have to let them
you need more of it.
see your breath. Yeah, not letting it. That's good. Ethan brought a bunch of papers. They wanted to see like
There was ducking in those classrooms. When we opened up the ceiling, someone had done zip ties around the duct. They're just soft ducting. They zip tied them shut, like just choke rope. So they just went and tried to imbalance the system and just wasn't.
so the summer. Do you know where the streamers are? And they're all back
That's
there
why
with
they're in
like
the back room.
fans around them. Ready for tank tops. So that Corey's just instructions and he had guys come in and just running over side. So during the summer we're able to force more cool air back there. Something that doesn't fit wind over back at all.
This time, I invite you to take your seats and direct your attention to the Advent wreath, where Jamie and Lila are going to lead us in our Advent reading for the day.
Good morning.
Hey,
Yeah, we have a
Merry Christmas.
you too, buddy.
On this third Sunday of Advent, we light the candle of joy. Luke 2 7 through 11 tells us, "And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him in cloths, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." In the same region, there were shepherds staying out in the fields and keeping watch over their flock by night. And an angel of the Lord suddenly stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terribly frightened. The angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy, which will be for all the people. For today, in the city of David, there has been born for you a Savior, who is Christ the Lord.
Let us pray. Dear Jesus, the angels sang a message of joy. Let this season of your birth fill us with overflowing joy, and may our excitement and anticipation be a sign to the world that you are always near. In your name we pray, amen.
we give the kids another round of applause? That was awesome. Now, don't forget your sheep, shepherds. Don't forget your sheep. All right. At this time, I'm going to invite us all to stand as we continue in an attitude of worship this morning. We're going to start with the fun one called He Has Come For Us, and I have a feeling you will recognize the tune.
Good job. Okay, go downstairs. Go put your costume away.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember
God, we are so thankful. We are thankful that during this time we are just stepping towards, with anticipation, celebrating the birth of Christ. The world changed when that happened. It's because of you. God, thank you for sending your Son, giving us finally the opportunity to be in relationship with you. And God, thank you for this church and the desire that we have to just help one another, to know more about you, learn how to live for you, to love you. We can gather together and allow you to love us too. God, thank you for that. Help us, God, to understand more and more in each and every day, if not week, what it means to experience the joy of loving, learning, and living in Christ. God, we each have things that have been going on in our lives, things that we think about. Some of us may even keep us up at night. And God, there's things that we're just so thankful for, and we realize that you are involved in it. We take a few moments of silence, God, and we share those things, praises and requests to you. And we trust that you will hear us. Your word reminds us that that is true, and that you can bring good. So, Lord, hear our prayers. Thank you, God. Now, God, as we move to this time where some of us share our tithes, our offerings, our gifts, may we do so with joy, trusting you with our lives, and trusting you with the ministry of this church. And God, may we remind ourselves, all of us remind ourselves, that what we have as well as who we are is really yours. So may we give ourselves to you once again. In the powerful name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you very much. Before we begin, or as we begin the message time, normally this is when we have the kids go downstairs. But I'm wondering if there's any kids who would be willing to come up front and help me with something as we begin the message time. I will break the news to you. I do have candy if that helps you in making your decision to come on up front. Some of you are saying I am doing it again. That means you've been here the first service. Don't give it away for the other people, okay? But some of you already know this. What we are doing is I have a map in front of me, right? And it is a map of this room, all right? And what this map is telling me is that there are some things that are hidden in this room. And I am wondering if you guys would help me find them. Are you willing to help me find them? All right, so let's take a look at the map. And where is the first thing? Anyone got an idea? We're looking for number 1. So where is that? Well, wait a second. What if we look at it this way, though? Then where is it? Over there. Here, you take it. You show us. You show us where it is. Feel free to run. I'll catch up. Don't worry. I'll get there eventually. It's great being the leader, right? All right, I think we're looking for a bag. We're looking for sorry, that was Minnesotan for all of you. A bag. Do you see a bag? Oh, somebody got the bag. Come on out, come on out. Where's the map? Can I have the map? All right, so what's in the bag? It looks like a towel. You want to hold on to it? Someone who wants to hold on to it. Just hold on to it, okay? Hold on to the towel. And a little tiny rag. You hold on to sure, you hold on to that. All right, so next on the map is, we're looking for number 2. Where is it? You think it's over there? Well, wait. We're supposed to play follow the leader, not run around the room. Sound booth? Show us where the sound booth is. Go. I believe it is that way. Wait, stop! 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 The sound booth people are scary. Don't you know that? Look at them. They are frightening even to the look. We got to be careful before we go in there. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Do you see something in there? Careful, careful. Let them, hey, reach out your hand and let them sniff it. Then they'll know that you're friendly, okay? All right, what'd you find? Well, it's not the pinwheel. What'd you find? Anyone? Oh, you got it. That looks like a bathrobe. You want to put on the robe? All right, put on the robe. Okay, so let's find the next thing. Where's number 3? Oh, okay, so it looks like it's under some chairs. It looks like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Hey, shh. Hello, girls. It's not back there. It's not back there. It's over here. It's over here. Come on. Tricked those first servicers, didn't I? So somewhere underneath one of these, there's a staff. Can you crawl under there? Wait. We got army crawl. Under the chair. Under the chairs. Under the chairs. Army crawl. Army crawl. Go. Do it. Go. Leave the staff there. Leave the staff there. Leave the staff there. Leave it there. Somebody's got a future in the military. Just letting you know. You got it? What is it? It's a staff. All right, go ahead, Zach. Just hand it out to somebody. All right, so where is number 4? Who wants to grab the map? Where's number 4? Show me where number 4 is. Okay, so we got a staff. So who had the towel? What do you think it is? Yeah, it's a hat. Can you put that on? Oh, yeah, yeah, that's the way we want it. You can't see. It's perfect. Do you guys figure out? Over there? Well, show us. Take the map and show us. Where do you think it is? Thank you. What is it? What is it? We got 17 kids under a table. All right, bring the sheep out. Bring the sheep out. Bring the sheep out. And you can bring the bag too, I guess, but bring the sheep out. All right, so there's one more place that we have to go. Just back up front. Let's head back up front. That's not one of them. Well, it looks like somebody found the treat. Hey, so listen to me just a second. Just a second, okay? Some of you are about to head downstairs for children's church, and some of you are going to be staying here and listening to us talk about the shepherd. And that's why we have the hat and the shepherd's staff and the robe and the sheep. And so here's what I want you to do, and the candy. Shepherds loved candy, right? Here's what I want you to do. After the service, can you remember this, please? After the service, ask your parents, what does a shepherd do? Can you say that? What does a shepherd do? Say that. After the service, ask your parents, what does a shepherd do? You want some candy? Tough. I'm kidding. Miss Paula will get you some candy. Thank you so much. I need to keep these items up front. So can I have your hat? Can I have your hat? Looks good on you, though. And I need a robe. And a sheep. Oh, thanks. Can I have the robe? No? You want us to just stay warm? Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Parents, thank you for letting me have your children run around. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the top two most popular passages of Scripture, Psalm 23. And we're continuing this message series where we're talking about some of the different names of God. We're just focusing in on 6 of them, and today we're going to be talking about how God is shepherd. Now, David was the writer of the psalm. It's attributed to him. And so here's the picture of what we have. David is looking back at his life. That's what seems like the most likely thing. Scholars believe that it's one of 3 times David might be doing this. One of them was Saul's chasing after him. He's hiding in a cave, right? Thinking that he's going to get killed. And while he's thinking about the fact that he might get killed, he's spending time. Sorry, children are dismissed to children's church. He's thinking about the time where, looking back when he was a shepherd. Now, another time is when Absalom was chasing him to try and kill him. His own son was trying to kill him, and he's looking back. Now, we don't know for sure if it was then or later on in his life. It seems later on. We'll get to that in a second. But David starts looking back to his time as a shepherd, and he begins to connect the things that he had learned there with who God is and really what God's name is. And Lord, as we begin to look at that and we begin to think through some of the things that just happened with our children here, would you help us to see who you are? And not just your name, not just that you're there, but what your name means and how that can impact our lives. And God, then may it not just be something that we learn, but that we embrace. Knowing you as shepherd. May the words that I share and the things that we all hear be acceptable and pleasing to you. God, for you are our rock and our blessed Redeemer. Amen. And so let's just jump in right away. Starts as he's writing now. So he is sitting down and he's either writing a song or a poem of some sort, and he wants to talk about who God is. And he starts off by saying, the Lord is my shepherd. Now, first of all, the word Lord here, it's the same word that we have been looking at each and every time here. It is the word Yahweh, but then David connects another word with that. But what is Yahweh? I just want to take a minute to help us to understand. The Old Testament, they would never even say the name God as Yahweh, because they thought he was too great of a being for them to even mention their name. But now David is writing that, and he's connecting it to this word shepherd. This Yahweh, this covenantal God is what Yahweh is. And what it is that God has made this promise to his people through Abraham to say that I am going to bless you and I am going to make a great nation from you. And I am going to be with you throughout everything that happens from generation to generation. God made this promise. He didn't expect the Israelite people to do anything back at this point. He's just saying, this is what I'm going to do for you. That's the covenant. And so when we hear the word Yahweh, what we're talking about is this covenantal God who committed to, no matter what, doing this. And now what David is saying is this God who has committed to being with us and guiding us through and making a great nation out of them is my shepherd. Now, the first thing that we have to notice here is David is using the word my. He is taking this covenantal God that most people would not even utter his name, and he's making him personal to himself. This great and mighty God who created everything is tied to me. Yahweh is my shepherd. The God who made that covenant, I'm a part of that covenant. That's what David is saying, is I am a part of that covenant. And so the Lord is my shepherd. And then it says, I lack nothing. Now this is one of those points where scholars say it seems likely that David was later on in life, because the Hebrew connected to the word here is the picture of somebody who is looking back on their life. And as they look back, they begin to see and realize things. And what David is realizing is that when I allowed God to be my shepherd, this covenantal God to be my shepherd, what I realized is I didn't lack anything. I was doing all right. I did not want for things. I had what I needed to survive. And so David, even though he looked at times where people were trying to kill him, his own family was trying to kill him, looking back at all the difficulties of running a nation, he said, when I was looking at God and when I was trusting God to be my shepherd, I was all right. I didn't lack anything. And then he starts to paint a picture of what a shepherd does, which we remind ourselves, this is who God is. God naturally does these things. Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. And then he says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. In this area, green pastures were few and far between. And what the shepherds had to do is they had to know where these places were. And then you would bring the sheep to it. But sometimes sheep get overwhelmed in the situation that they're in because most people believe they're kind of simple-minded. And they would get to the point where they will overwork themselves. They get to a place where there's green grass, they'll start eating grass, and they won't stop eating grass unless the shepherd helps them to stop. When they head to water, they may do the same thing. Or when they get in a fearful situation, when animals that want to attack are starting to gather around or they see them, they will get nervous. And even though the shepherd may scare the animal off, they will stay nervous for a long, long time. And so what David is saying here is sometimes the shepherd will make you lie down. Josephus, the first century scholar, when he was talking about what shepherding looked like, one of the things that he said was, sometimes sheep have a hard time stopping what they're doing. They just keep going on and on with whatever it is. And what the shepherd will do is it'll fold the legs of the sheep underneath the shepherd and put it on the ground until the legs become numb of the sheep. And then the sheep just can't move anymore. Since they're immobile, they'll just take a nap. They'll fall asleep. They will get the rest that they need. And I think what David is trying to help us understand here about who God is and what God is all about is sometimes God will stop us from what's going on. Sometimes God will put us in a position where we have to rest. Because otherwise we'll just keep going and going and going and going and going, right? But sometimes, and I don't know what it is. You know, sometimes a broken bone can remind us that we need to slow down and stop, right? Sometimes, getting cut back at work, as terrible as that may sound, reminds us that maybe we're focusing on the wrong things. Sometimes God may use things to cause us to slow down, to force us to rest, that he makes us lie down in pastures, green pastures, where we still will be taken care of by the shepherd. He leads me beside still waters. The picture here is that God will also bring us to places. This is where God wants us to be, in a place where we experience peace, which we talked about last week. We experience peace, not an absence of conflict, right? But the presence of God. He leads us to a place where we can experience the presence of God, and he refreshes my soul. This literally means to renew my life. God brings us to a point where, as they believe that the inside of you, where your mind, will, and emotions were, right, that it was connected with the spirit that lived inside you. They believed that both those things were kind of one. And when we would get what the shepherd would do is get us to the point where that thing inside of us that causes the hamster wheel to keep spinning will settle down. God will bring us to a place where this can settle down. And we realize that we are okay. That's what a shepherd do. Sometimes he makes us. Sometimes he leads us in these areas. But he wants to refresh us, to renew the life within us, and remind us who the shepherd is. Then he says, and he guides us, guides me along the right paths. So the picture here is when I was a young adult, in my car I used to keep what's called an atlas, all right? And inside the atlas was something that's called a map. Now, most of you probably haven't even seen a map, at least you younger ones, right? Before you would go on a trip, you would, if it was a trip far away and you didn't know where it was going, you'd have to start rifling through the atlas or pulling open a big map, and you'd have to start looking on the route, the path that you want to take to get there. And then you know that once you reach a certain city, you're going to be looking for a certain road, right? So I know that once I reach St. Louis or whatever, I've got to take 282 and I got to turn right. But then when I head here, I got to turn left. And what you would do is you would try to remember as much as you could of the maps while you're driving around. And eventually, right, and while you're taking this long trip, there's going to be times where you stop and you have to pull out the map again. And you would look to just remind yourself of, oh yeah, so this is where I'm supposed to be going. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Well, times have changed since then, right? Since then, we have had GPSs that have been put in our cars. Some of us would purchase the GPSs, right? These days, we even have them on our phones, where we can just set the phone in front of us, and we can either punch it in or ask it, direct, how do I get to such and such? And it'll just start telling us. But even this isn't the best solution, is it? Because while it's there, you're going to have to stop and you're going to have to look at the phone. For some of us, we'll make sure that the sound is on so that we can hear the phone. As a matter of fact, when one of the first GPSs that I had where you bought it and you put it in your car, it was a TomTom, and you could pick the voices on the GPS. And my favorite voice that I ended up picking was George W. Bush. Right? I just loved it because I'd be driving down the road, and then all of a sudden George would start speaking to me, and he'd say something like, "Bear right," kind of like the animal. And I was just thinking it's so funny, right? In about 400 feet, just keep going forward. He would just say this, and once you would finally get to the point where we're heading, George would say, "You have reached your destination." And I just loved it. I just thought it was the most fun thing. But even that isn't super helpful if you're trying to experience life while you're heading to where you're going. Do you know what would be even better than that? A guide. Because a guide is somebody who has gone on the path before, somebody who knows where they are going, somebody who could even bring some color commentary to what's going on. Oh, and so while we're heading down here, did you ever notice this thing over here? Because here's what happened over here. And you're going, oh, that's fascinating. If you don't have somebody who knows where they have been going, who can talk about those things, what are you doing? You're just getting from point A to point B. And life can be so much more meaningful than that. And what David is saying is, God is my guide. God knows where I'm going. And God wants to be there with me. When I'm trying to run around with these kids, right? My goal was to be with them. Sometimes they just ran off on their own, and that's fine, right, for this. But what God is saying is, I want to be with you. I want to be by your side. I want to help you to know where you are going, and I want you to experience life to the full as it's happening. He guides me along the right paths. God does this because he knows what is right. He knows what is best for us. And that's what he wants. That's why he is there, because he's inviting us to the best possible life that we can have. And it's only by knowing him. And God does all of this for his name's sake. Well, what does that mean? Because if you just take that phrase, you begin to think, that sounds really selfish. God does this for God? But that's not what it's talking about at all. This is tying into the word Yahweh, the covenantal God. It is saying God cannot help but do this because it's who God is. God will naturally guide us. God will naturally lead us. God will naturally force us into times of rest and relaxation because he knows that's what's best for us. And the question kind of is, are we going to let him do that? Because he's just going to keep doing it. He is going to guide us and lead us like a shepherd because God is like a shepherd. So David's trying to write these things down because he's reminding himself, or he wants other people to know, that this is what God is all about. And he continues on. Okay, and so as it goes on, what it says is it goes, even though I walk through the darkest valley. So sometimes we go through difficult things. Sometimes life can be incredibly miserable. It's not that the guide isn't there. God is always there, right? And that's what's about to say. But we will go through tough times where we don't know what the end result is, where it isn't working out the way that I had hoped. And we're struggling through. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, what he says is, I will fear no evil. I will fear no evil. Even when the kids started running back to the sound booth, and the people in the sound booth started growling at them, which was planned, you may not have heard it, and a couple of them screamed a little bit, the reminder was that I was with them, and I was going to help them to get their hands sniffed, or whatever it would take to get that gift from them. That's what God does, not sniffs hands. But to help us to know that no matter what is going on in our lives, it's going to be okay. We'll fear no evil. Why? For you are with me. Did you notice a shift that just took place there from the first couple verses? Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Right? And then all of a sudden, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because you are with me. What happens? David's writing this stuff down. He's reminding himself or other people how awesome God is. And the next thing you know, he's talking to God. This is no longer about God. Here's what I pictured just took place. As David's writing this down, he's thinking back to how God has taken care of him throughout his life. The next thing you know, he breaks into a personal worship service. This is now all about God. It's not me writing about God, but God, this is about you. I'm not going to fear any evil, God, because you are with me. You've been there this entire time. You're not just the guide, you're leading and you're protecting me and you're taking care of me. Even in the darkest times, God, you have been there. And then he says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, a rod was a kind of like a big 12 to 18-inch thick piece of wood. And what would often happen with the rod is they would take that, when animals would be coming, they would use that to beat the animals away, to protect the sheep, right? But then there was also the staff, and the staff was used to comfort people as well. Because oftentimes, as the sheep were traveling around, they would start going off the path. And what the shepherd would do is they would use the staff in order to help people to understand. What he would do is he would take the staff and he would push it along the side of somebody towards the direction that they would want them to go. If there was something really bad or something not good for you that was about to happen, the shepherd would take the staff and start pushing it. Now, I just want to let you know, there is something not necessarily good for you right next to you. Okay, so if I could just push you away. No, just keep going. It's okay. Here, sit back. Sit back there. That's probably going to be the safest place for you. And this is what the shepherd would do, because apparently this is a very, very bad influence on the sheep. You know, the other thing that a shepherd would do with the staff is they would say, oh, wait a second. Look what's going on here. That is a way worse influence. Right? So, and then they take the crook and they would start pulling it back to what was going to be the good influence on the sheep. That's what a shepherd would do. And what David is trying to help people understand is this is a comfort. Sometimes we're prodded, sometimes we're pushed, sometimes we're pulled. But God as our guide, God as our shepherd is doing everything that he can to help us to be okay with what's going on in our lives. Even through the things that are difficult. God, you comfort me. It's not saying God comforts me. God, you comfort me. It's really just about you, isn't it, God? And then David begins to shift to talk about just the way God seems to treat him. And it's not necessarily about shepherding and sheeping anymore. But it's still talking about who God is and what God is all about. Because now it's just him talking to God. And he says, God, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So common custom during this time is if travelers or guests were along the road and you saw them, you came in contact with them, the common custom was that you would invite them into your home. And if they agreed to come to your home, you would try to figure out how you can make the absolute best meal for these people because you just wanted to bless them and take care of them. And now David's looking at God and he is saying, this is what you've been doing all along, isn't it? You've been giving me what's been best for me, the absolute thing that I needed, even in the presence of my enemies. This is what you've been doing, God. You're preparing the table for me. You anoint my head with oil. Well, what does that mean? What's interesting, because you would have a guest that came into your house, and it's likely, it's very common in this time, that these people haven't bathed in at least a week, right? And they stunk. It's also very likely that you haven't bathed in a week. You stink too. And so what the host would do is they would take some oil and they would mix some fragrance in with it, right? And they would place a little on the head of the person who came in, and then they would place some on their own heads. So all that you smelled was some sort of nice fragrance, as opposed to the stinky person that was in front of you. And David's beginning to realize this is what God does. God, you're anointing my head with oil because I stink. I'm not great. I'm like a sheep who gets so easily distracted, doing my own thing. But God, you will even accept me as a stinky person. When I realize this, God, I realize that my cup overflows. There's so much more to my life than I've realized because you have been there the entire time, leading and guiding me and showing me what's best. Thank you for accepting a stinky person like me and allowing me to sit at the table with you. God walks with us, even in our difficult times. And then finally, God is also there, bringing us security as well. It says, surely goodness and faithful love will follow me all the days of my life. Now, I know it just says love, but this word ties back into the Yahweh word, where it's talking about the faithful covenantal God. And now we're talking about what type of love will that God have. And it is a faithful love, a love that is always there. Well, when my family was way younger, right? So Jacob and Asher were born. Eli hasn't been born yet. And Asher is about 2 years old. And so one of the days, I worked as a youth worker at the time, and I would head off to work, and I would work a lot of nights because in youth ministry that you're hanging out with kids when they're outside of school. Which sometimes isn't super fun for the family that you're a part of, right? But I remember one of these times where I was out, or I had to go out, and Asher got to this point for a while where he had this separation anxiety. And it seemed like every time that I wanted to leave home to go to work or something, he would start to cry, right? It felt really good initially. Oh, my kid loves me, right? But after a while, it started to get really, really annoying. Like, why does he keep crying? And it got very, very frustrating because I would leave and Asher would keep crying and crying and crying. Jacob, he was like, yeah, Dad's gone, finally see it. No. But Asher would keep crying. And I remember one time, I'm trying to leave and Asher is grabbing a hold of my leg. We actually talked about maybe, doing an example of this today, but now that he's 6'2", it just looks a little different. But Asher's crying and he's holding onto my leg as I'm trying to go down the steps to leave to go to work. And Kara's in the kitchen doing stuff in the kitchen, right? And Asher, I'll be back. I promise I'll be back. And Kara, just one of those times, whether she knew she was being brilliant or not, she says, just give him something to remember you by. And so I start thinking, and I realized that in my pocket, I had this pocket watch. And this is the very pocket watch that I had. Kara gave it to me at our first anniversary. And I pulled out my pocket watch, and I handed it to Asher. In hindsight, I shouldn't have done that, right? But I handed it to Asher, my 2-year-old, and I said, hey, Asher, would you please hold on to this for me until I come back? And this kid who was screaming and crying and holding onto my leg just grabbed the pocket watch, probably because it was shiny, right? Grabbed the pocket watch, stopped crying, and walked away. And I went out of the house and I went to work. And then I got back later that night. Jacob and Ashley were both sleeping, and I did what I normally did at those times. I would go into their rooms and I would pray a blessing over their kids, right? And I did Jacob, and then I'd go to Asher because I have these weird habits, and I would always go oldest to youngest. And I'm at Asher's bed, and he's just laying on his stomach, right, with his head to the side, drool all over the place. And this watch, just a couple inches from his hand. And I grabbed the watch, and what I realized now, maybe not then, is he just wanted to know I was going to be coming back. And that's what David is realizing about God. God is a faithful God. His love is faithful. It is not going to show up and disappear and show up and disappear. God's faithful love is always there. And that type of covenantal faithful love will follow me all the days of my life. And he realizes, so I will. This is with certainty. I know this is going to happen. This gives me a sense of security. I will dwell in the house of the Lord. And the word forever is in there. All the days of my life, I will dwell in the house of the Lord for as long as I live. And David's speaking this all to God now. And they know this, really, my life is about you, isn't it, God? God, shepherd. You are leading, you are guiding. And in the good and the bad, you will always be there. That helps me. Okay. Centuries later, one of David's descendants is standing in Jerusalem. And it's a group of people. And all of a sudden he says to people, I am, which is connecting to the word Yahweh. I am the good shepherd who lays down his life for the sheep. And Jesus claims, truly, what David was pointing out to us hundreds of years before, that Jesus is the one that we can trust no matter what is going on in our lives. And he lays down his life for us, yet he rises again, showing that he is God, and he invites us to come to him. May we be people that say yes to God, shepherd, and trust him with our lives. Lord, help us. Help us to just see who you really are. Not what you're about, but who you are. And how naturally you will do these things, regardless. May we accept them. And may we choose to make them a part of our lives. Trusting you to guide us each step of the way. In Jesus' name. Amen.
There is one thing I desire, one thing I seek, to hide in you, abide in you, and yours for you to keep. You prepare a table for me, you're my portion and my cup. You are the source of strength. Lord, you have filled me up. You are my shepherd in the wilderness. Whom shall I fear? You are the God who goes before me, my rock and my shield. In troubled times you will provide, and I shall not want. You are my God.
so much for joining us today. Just want to remind you that next two Sundays are combined services, and so we'll be having worship at 10 o'clock. And we believe that the next step from coming to worship is getting connected in a small group. You see, love, learn, and live. Love is our experience of Sunday morning worshiping God. Learn is where we sit down with one another and try to figure out how do we live out what Scripture tells us. If you want to get involved in something like that, just grab me and we will help set you up with that. Well, may I bless us as we move on with what's resting the day. May we be people that understand that God is shepherd. And he can be your shepherd as well. May our life become an opportunity where we are just worshiping him, not talking about him, not saying stuff about him, but realizing that he truly is my guide. And I can trust him to be faithful. May we live that in our lives today and this week. Go in peace.